Welcome to your ultimate pit stop, Piston Pundit, where the rubber meets the road in global auto drama. The latest twist? A European power trio, Germany, France, and Denmark, has fired back hard against US tariffs. What started as a protectionist push under the Trump administration has triggered a seismic response that could dismantle America's automotive stronghold overseas. We're not just talking about heated rhetoric. France is turbocharging its homegrown EV programs, Germany is drawing up tech-heavy countermeasures, and Denmark has put Tesla in its rearview mirror, literally cutting it from major investment portfolios. The result? A full-throttle shakeup that threatens to reroute the future of global auto trade. Buckle in, because here are the pivotal power plays unraveling the engine block of America's $1.5 trillion automotive machine. Tariff collision course, when policy meets the piston. Back in early 2025, the US government threw down a 25% tariff on imported vehicles and auto parts, aiming to protect domestic production. The move, championed by the Trump administration, was meant to reduce trade deficits and revive the American manufacturing base. But what came next was anything but predictable. Germany, France, and Denmark didn't just flinch. They countered with retaliatory tariffs of their own, hitting roughly 18 billion euros in US exports. Vehicles, agricultural goods, and consumer products all got caught in the blast zone. Here's the rub. The auto industry isn't a closed-circuit system. It thrives on an intricate global supply chain. A bolt from Mexico, a sensor from Germany, a battery from South Korea, all must arrive on time, or the whole production line stalls. These new trade barriers have jacked up manufacturing costs, led to parts shortages, and put price pressure on already inflation-sensitive consumers. Automakers are now rethinking their entire logistics playbook. Some are even eyeing overseas relocations or reshuffling factory footprints just to sidestep tariffs. Investment uncertainty is rising, job losses are looming, and the long-term torque on American competitiveness could be massive. But America's tariffs didn't just provoke retaliation, they sparked an entire realignment of European trade strategy. The European rebuild, realignment over retaliation. Europe isn't just clapping back, they're recalibrating the whole drivetrain. France has fast-tracked subsidies and regulatory support to Renault and Stellantis, redirecting the EV spotlight inward. Their goal? Dominate the electric frontier with a battery-first, France-first mindset. Germany, with its auto heart beating through Stuttgart and Munich, is going deeper. Chancellor Scholz didn't mince words, calling the US tariffs economically reckless. In response, Germany is quietly stitching new trade ties outside of traditional Western alliances, from China to Southeast Asia, looking to de-risk its export base from US market volatility. Then there's Denmark, punching above its weight. It may not build cars at scale, but it sends a powerful signal by pulling Tesla from its investment funds, citing ethical concerns and governance red flags. This isn't just about money, it's about messaging. European nations are beginning to use economic levers as a way to express policy and cultural disagreements, and US automakers are on the receiving end. Europe's pivot isn't just a knee-jerk reaction, it's a strategic shift towards self-sufficiency, market diversification, and internal resilience. The old engine of transatlantic auto trade is misfiring, and Europe's already popping the hood. Before we delve deeper, hit that like and subscribe if you haven't yet. It helps us bring more industry insights straight to your screen. Now let's shift gears and take a hard look at Tesla's shrinking grip on the European market. Tesla's tailspin, when hype meets headwinds. Tesla, once the crown jewel of EV cool, is now struggling to hold the wheel in Europe. By early 2025, its sales took a nosedive, down 49% across the continent. In Germany alone, the drop hit 62%, a blow to a brand that once led the charge in EV adoption. So what's stalling the Tesla engine? A few things. First, there's growing backlash against the company's public persona. Elon Musk's polarizing tweets and controversial affiliations don't sit well with European consumers who prioritize ethics and sustainability. Then there's labor unrest and governance issues that simply clash with EU values. Second, the competition has closed in, fast. Volkswagen, BMW, and even Peugeot have rolled out compelling EV alternatives that cater to local tastes. Add to that the rise of Chinese automakers like BYD, offering high-tech, low-cost EVs, and Tesla's once unchallenged reign is looking increasingly shaky. In short, Tesla's European market dominance is losing traction. If they can't course-correct on image, innovation, and pricing, they might find themselves drifting to the back of the EV grid. But Tesla's skid is only part of the story. America's entire auto industry is feeling the shake. U.S. auto industry under pressure. Domestic turbulence hits hard. The tariff war isn't just a global issue, it's slamming straight into Detroit. U.S. automakers face a projected $108 billion surge in production costs for 2025 alone, driving up car prices and choking demand. Brands like Ford and GM are already scaling back operations, with plant slowdowns and trimmed shifts becoming more common across the country. States like Michigan and Ohio, deeply tied to the auto economy, are bracing for job losses. Dealerships report shrinking sales, particularly for tariff-impacted models, while supply chain disruptions ripple through local suppliers and service networks. Meanwhile, consumers are tapping the brakes. Uncertainty around pricing and inventory is delaying purchases, and for EVs, already seen as pricey, higher costs could stall adoption just as the government pushes for electrification. In response, automakers are lobbying for relief through subsidies and policy tweaks. But with Washington gridlocked and trade strategy in flux, companies are largely left to steer through the chaos solo. Analysts warn that if tariffs remain, up to 80,000 U.S. auto jobs could vanish this year. The urgency to adapt has never been greater, and while America is on the defensive, Europe is charging forward and not looking back. Global Gearshift. Is the U.S. falling behind the curve? With just weeks left before the 90-day EU-US tariff pause expires, the global auto industry is in a state of nervous anticipation. Europe isn't just responding, it's racing ahead. At the Green Mobility Summit, Germany, France, and Denmark announced a joint plan to create a seamless EV network, complete with shared subsidies, unified export rules, and cross-border supply chain support. Their message? The future of EVs will be built in Europe, and on Europe's terms. Even more concerning for U.S. automakers is Europe's budding alliance with Mexico and Canada. A North Atlantic green tech corridor is forming, and guess who's not invited? Without policy pivots in Washington, American car companies may find themselves isolated, watching their closest neighbors forge ahead on EV collaboration. Back home, Tesla's troubles in Europe keep stacking up, and Ford and GM are feeling the heat, sandwiched between surging costs and eroding global influence. Even their strategic plants in Mexico are now in a gray zone as alliances realign. The message is loud and clear. The race isn't just about torque anymore, it's about timing, teamwork, and transformation. Verdict: can U.S. automakers regain control of the wheel? The U.S. didn't just launch tariffs, it unleashed a storm. And now, America's automotive giants are drifting toward a tipping point. To survive, it's no longer enough to build a powerful vehicle. You have to drive with strategy. Trade policy, global cooperation, and innovation all need to shift into high gear. Otherwise, the U.S. may be left idling while Europe, China, and other markets take the fast lane into the EV future. So we ask you, is this just a bump in the road, or a complete redirection for the U.S. auto industry? Can America rebuild its auto influence globally? Or is it time to focus on dominating at home? And what role should automakers play in shaping smarter trade strategy moving forward? We want to hear your take. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's fire up a real conversation down there. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to Piston Pundit, your ultimate pit stop for vehicle updates, industry insights, and all things on four wheels. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay driven. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's plenty more to explore.